people I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge, iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in some...
Picture this. Beyond the flashing cameras, champagne galas, and velvet ropes of Hollywood lies a hidden underworld few dare to whisper about. A secret network linking the most powerful names in entertainment. A place where scandals don't just erupt, they're carefully engineered. And now, shocking new evidence suggests the shadows run deeper than anyone imagined. These underground passageways may have played a role in one of music's greatest mysteries, the alleged escape of Shakur himself. When federal agents raided Diddy's opulent Holmby Hills mansion last year, the headlines focused on the seized hard drives, cryptic tapes, and a private arsenal fit for a movie villain. But insiders say the real bombshell was beneath the floorboards, a sprawling maze of tunnels hidden under some of the most expensive land in Los Angeles. Not a quirky grotto, not a panic room, a subterranean labyrinth wide enough, witnesses claim, for more than just Diddy to vanish undetected. And here's where rumor veers into potential cover-up. These tunnels weren't confined to his estate. They allegedly stretched out to guest houses, neighboring compounds, and, according to one veteran of the industry, even into the basements of other A-list mansions. If true, Hollywood's Gilded Hills aren't just home to the stars. They're sitting on top of secrets buried in the dark.
I thought he was this clean businessman who rise to the top because he was such a powerful and, smart, educated man. I had no idea that he had this other side to him. And when I started to get exposed to his lifestyle, I started to really realize, this guy has an addiction. It's not just, once every few weeks, it's every day, every hour.
Then silence. Almost overnight, the story evaporated. Headlines that had briefly buzzed about secret passageways were scrubbed from major outlets within days. The raid footage that surfaced, trimmed and polished. Viewers saw Diddy's gleaming cars, his towering gates, but not a single frame of the catacombs beneath. Comment sections lit up with questions. What did the tunnels really connect to? And why did every trace of them vanish so fast? But just as quickly as curiosity spiked, it was smothered. The FBI refused to elaborate. Witnesses went silent. Even gossip blogs, the ones that never shy away from a scandal, backed off, as if someone powerful had pulled the plug. According to two former LA County officials, that blackout wasn't about protecting Diddy. It was about protecting Hollywood itself. Because those tunnels, they say, weren't unique. They were part of a shared secret, a hidden infrastructure running beneath the homes of the entertainment elite. If the truth ever surfaced, the fallout wouldn't stop at one rapper's mansion. The list of names implicated could read like the roll call at the Oscars. And here's where the whispers get darker. The tunnels weren't just eccentric luxuries or billionaire paranoia. They were escape hatches, custom-built exits for scandals too dangerous to see the light of day. Stories still circulate of parties slipping underground when things spiraled out of control, of backroom deals inked far from prying eyes, and even disappearances that felt less like tragedies and more like carefully orchestrated vanishings. And now, with Diddy's legal empire crumbling, those whispers are resurfacing. This time, tied to a name no one expected to hear again, Shakur.
I just get right on the side of his head and just start talking to him in his ear. Just talking to him.
Yes, Shakur. The legend whose 1996 drive-by remains one of music's most unshakable mysteries. The icon whose supposed death has fueled enough conspiracy theories to power 1,000 YouTube channels for decades. Now, out of nowhere, new claims are surfacing. According to industry insiders, Tupac didn't die in Vegas that night. He was critically wounded, but the chaos on the Strip was only the beginning of a covert extraction. The story, whispered by former security operatives and figures with ties to the Black Panthers, goes like this. Shakur wasn't hidden in a desert-safe house or whisked away to some remote island. He was smuggled directly into the underground tunnels, passageways contractors had quietly threaded beneath the West Side mansions of Hollywood's elite. The logic is chilling. We're better to conceal someone too famous to disappear than in the literal underbelly of the entertainment industry itself. From there, the theories multiply. Talk of body doubles, a switch staged at the hospital, hush money changing hands to keep officials quiet, and the inconsistencies stack up. Shakur's body weight, listed wrong on the coroner's report. The cremator who abruptly retired the very next day. Suge Knight's relentless hints that no arrests were ever made because Tupac isn't truly gone. Then comes the Caribbean connection. Michael Nice, a former bodyguard with alleged Panther ties, insists Shakur was flown out using forged documents and an armed escort. His first stop, a safe house linked directly to those same tunnels. Nice words echo through every conspiracy forum. Why do you think nobody's ever been arrested? Because Shakur is not gone. Even Suge Knight himself, the man in the car that night, later told reporters the same thing. Tupac isn't dead. He's alive, somewhere out there. And in Suge's own words, he's smoking a Cuban cigar on an island.
He was scared. Yes, I agree. I do agree that he was probably terrified for his life. So if that is the case, it's also quite feasible that he put up money to get Pac.
So here's the question. If Tupac Shakur really survived, why would he be hidden in Hollywood's secret tunnels of all places? Who had the motive to erase him from public life and the power to enforce absolute silence? After the infamous East Coast, West Coast feud, tensions were white hot. The theory goes that Diddy, surrounded by threats and rivalries, needed both leverage and plausible deniability. And according to insiders, those tunnels weren't just a curiosity, they were conduits. They allegedly ferried not only celebrities, but also missing evidence, hidden guests, and maybe even fugitives. In that light, the idea of Shakur vanishing into the underbelly of Holmby Hills feels less like tinfoil fantasy, and more like the kind of cover-up Hollywood was built on. Let's be real. In an industry where entire identities are manufactured, where lives and careers are scripted for the cameras, faking a death or orchestrating an escape doesn't seem like an impossible leap. And these claims aren't drifting in isolation. The timing matters. Diddy's empire is crumbling. He's staring down federal charges of human trafficking, allegations of operating a criminal enterprise, and damning evidence pulled from those very tunnels. Against that backdrop, the old whispers about his role in Shakur's Vegas shooting are resurfacing, and this time, investigators are actually paying attention. Enter Keefe D, the Southside Crip now entangled in his own trial. He's been caught on tape, again and again, naming Diddy as the man who offered millions to eliminate Shakur and Suge Knight. He wanted the man's head. Keefe told detectives in one covert recording, words that now live inside a 180-page court filing. He was real scared of that guy. Diddy's camp calls it fiction, a smear, nothing more. But with new attorneys representing Shakur's family, new investigators digging up evidence, and a Las Vegas court finally admitting parts of a case into record, the stakes have never been higher.
Not surprised. You know, we all know who he is and how we get down, so that don't surprise me.
Moprim Shakur, Tupac's own brother, isn't buying the denials. Sitting across from Piers Morgan, he admitted his doubts about Diddy's innocence, reminding viewers that even decades later, the truth has never surfaced. Quite possibly, and it's kind of looking that way in my opinion, Moprim said when pressed on whether Diddy had lied. He recalled how, back in 2008, Diddy personally called him, asking him to believe his side of the story. But despite the phone call, despite the pleas, the Shakur family has never found closure. And now, with Diddy staring down the very real possibility of life in prison, this time for crimes separate from the Vegas shooting, the question won't go away. Was it all connected from the very beginning?
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
The drama doesn't end with Diddy. The legal team circling this tunnel conspiracy aren't chasing shadows. They're chasing something far more tangible. Prosecutors have already admitted that key witnesses in Diddy's latest trial have mysteriously vanished. One, known only as Victim 3, has disappeared entirely, despite grand jury subpoenas and what was supposed to be airtight federal protection. Behind closed doors, lawyers whisper about witness tampering, about threats, hush money, and non-disclosure deals designed to keep the most explosive names out of the courtroom. And then comes the darker rumor, one now gaining traction among both industry insiders and law enforcement leaks, the Catacomb Society. According to these whispers, the tunnels weren't just a hideout for celebrities with bad habits. They were the backbone of a syndicate, a secret society of Hollywood power players using the underground for everything the surface world could never be allowed to see. Some anonymous sources even claim there are tapes, grainy footage of trafficking, blackmail operations, even ritualistic gatherings. Evidence so damning that, if ever made public, it wouldn't just rattle Hollywood. It would shatter it from the inside out. And now, With Diddy's fingerprints smeared across both the tunnels and the Shakur mystery, we're staring straight into the most radioactive question the entertainment world has ever faced. How deep does this conspiracy go? Who else is tied into it? And as the grand jury grinds forward and federal agents scour every hidden chamber, one chilling question remains. Will the real story ever actually see the light of day?
We are following breaking news out of New York City. The jury in the Sean Diddy Combs racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking trial has reached a verdict on 4 of the 5.
If these tunnels were nothing more than private passageways, then why do they keep surfacing at the center of Hollywood's darkest scandals? And why are insiders now insisting that Diddy's mounting legal troubles, from trafficking allegations to blackmail schemes, are tied directly to what's been buried beneath them? This is no longer about property lines or lavish amenities. With each week that Diddy's trial grinds forward, the whispers about his infamous underwater escape grow louder. What started as a late-night joke, a theory that Diddy vanished through a hidden tunnel during the federal raid, has evolved into serious investigation fodder. Agents didn't find him in Los Angeles. They didn't find him in Miami. So what happened? Did he really disappear behind a waterfall, James Bond style, as armored trucks stormed his gates? Or, as several veteran bodyguards have quietly suggested, was that tunnel just one visible artery in a much larger network? A subterranean system designed specifically to let the rich and reckless move people, evidence, and secrets beneath the surface.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak-off, I'm going to release one of the freak-off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate."
And this is where the story veers into territory too wild to dismiss. The theory that Diddy's escape hatch wasn't just an architectural quirk, but part of a larger industrial-grade system, has ignited conspiracy boards from Hollywood to Havana. 3 former event planners who worked the mansion circuit claim the tunnels weren't just for slipping out unseen. They were used to funnel high-risk guests away when parties spun out of control, or in one case, to bring in girls and performers straight from unmarked vans on the street. A former security manager told an LA Times stringer bluntly, "These places were designed for things you didn't want anyone to see. Not the press, not even each other." It sounds like a bad movie plot, until the paper trail comes into focus. Overlapping blueprints, permits for below-grade egress, guest houses reinforced like bunkers. And the kicker, multiple properties, owned by different stars, allegedly linked by the same underground arteries. But that's just the present. The past makes the picture even darker. What if the tunnels weren't only for Diddy's paranoia, but for cleaning up Hollywood's biggest scandals? It isn't far-fetched when you look at the pattern. Evidence that vanishes, witnesses who suddenly relocate, security feeds that mysteriously go white at critical moments. One veteran sound engineer, who claims to have seen inside Diddy's private vault, swears the underground rooms weren't mere panic shelters. They were storage sites, vaults crammed with tapes, hard drives, and items never meant for daylight. And according to multiple sources, those vaults may be what Homeland Security really came for when agents stormed the Holmby Hills estate, battering through with dogs and crowbars. Not just evidence of trafficking or fraud, but blackmail caches. Footage from those infamous freak-offs, as prosecutors labeled them. And maybe much, much more.
Case, you're hearing about all these videos with celebrities, not going to be part of the criminal case. And
Cassie video.
The Cassie
is
video
gonna be-
is going to be part.
Right.
We're going to get to that in a minute with the jury. But what we did was, number one, we showed them the prosecution's case from one of our documentaries. And then we showed them the defense from the current documentary.
Now we arrive at the core, Shakur. 4 decades, every supposed sighting, every new lead, every leaked document about his case has burned bright for a moment, only to fizzle out. But the tunnel theory has breathed new life into the oldest rumor of them all. Was the Las Vegas drive-by a crime or a cover-up? Could those tunnels have been the hidden doorway that let Shakur slip away, not to a hospital, but to a fortified basement in Los Angeles, guarded, silenced, and perhaps even greased by Diddy's own resources? Industry veterans, including at least one former death row employee, tell a version of the story where chaos in Vegas masked the switch, a body double on the gurney, while the real Tupac was rushed onto a private jet, then into a waiting car outside a walled estate on the west side. That's where the catacombs come in. Some leaks suggest he stayed underground for weeks, maybe longer, while plans were finalized to get him to Cuba. And here's the stunner. Whispers claim Diddy may have helped bankroll the escape. Not out of loyalty, but out of fear. Fear of Suge Knight, who at the time was hunting for blood, figuratively and maybe literally. The irony borders on poetic. Did Diddy, the same man accused of putting a bounty on Shakur's head, secretly help orchestrate his vanishing act just to save his own skin? Was it guilt or pure survival instinct? As one retired bad boy manager put it bluntly, in this town, everybody switches sides when the cameras go off. If that's true, then Shakur's story was never just about a feud, or an album, or even a murder. It's about the machine humming beneath the entertainment industry itself. A machine where power isn't measured by charts or money, but by the ability to make people, and evidence, simply disappear. And that's the kind of story that pulls you in, whether you came for the music, the mystery, or just the curiosity of how deep the rabbit hole goes.
To not be involved with a famous singer, to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those, this is what I heard, they're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big, big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out.
Which brings us to the real question. What did the FBI actually find in those raids? It wasn't just Diddy's stash of designer watches, or the predictable trail of financial records. According to multiple sources, including a well-connected LA publicist, agents walked out with hard drives, videotapes, and reels of old security footage. The weapons barely mattered. As one source close to the investigation put it bluntly, they want the tapes. The tapes are everything. And why? Because if what's on those tapes is even half as explosive as insiders believe, it could implicate far more than Diddy. We're talking about a network, a ring of enablers, celebrities, moguls, maybe even law enforcement, suddenly dragged into the light. The whispers have always been there. Always denied, but never disproven. Rumors of tapes showing what really went on in those tunnels. Footage so damaging it could shatter marriages, void contracts, and send more than one A-lister scrambling for a foreign passport. Wild parties are one thing, but evidence of crimes, smuggled through a hidden network no one was ever supposed to know existed? That's an entirely different story.
Did Phil explain why he's speaking out now?
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
And this isn't just about dusty scandals from the past. Diddy's current legal unraveling feels like a caricature of Hollywood's darkest downfalls. Trafficking charges, racketeering allegations, freak-offs, and enough NDAs to wallpaper the Beverly Hilton. But it's not the headlines that raise the sharpest questions, it's the disappearances. As trial dates close in, one star witness has gone missing entirely, her own attorney now refusing to comment. Others suddenly remember their NDAs or quietly decide the risks of testifying outweigh the rewards. Even the presiding judge has shown frustration over the pattern of silence. So what's fueling the fear? Is it just the usual threat of ruined careers and blacklisted futures? Or is there something far more dangerous, like the contents of those seized tapes, or the reach of a shadow network that's never stepped fully into the daylight?
Trying to find her, and her attorney has said that she may not be willing to come and testify anyway, so
Be interesting. Okay, we're moving on.
We'd love to dismiss it all as wild speculation, but the facts keep stacking up. Former LA detectives have gone on record saying the entertainment industry runs on cover-ups, and that if the truth ever fully emerged, half of Hollywood would be out of a job. And now there's even a name whispered in the shadows, the Catacomb Society. According to 3 separate legal filings, investigators have traced some of these underground spaces to organized gatherings where careers were brokered, contracts decided, and at times threats delivered, far from any camera or microphone. No A-lister has ever admitted to attending, of course. But the rumors refuse to die, and they've begun to look far less outlandish now that grand juries are demanding blueprints and architects are suddenly too busy to comment. So where does that leave us? Diddy, once the kingmaker of hip-hop, now fighting for his freedom in federal court. Shakur, martyr or mastermind, depending on who you believe, possibly both victim and survivor. A legend shaped by the very system that wanted him gone but couldn't risk him silenced. And beneath it all, the tunnels, the catacombs, the vaults. More than just colorful footnotes to a scandal, they may be the literal foundation of an empire built on secrets. An empire where the only thing more dangerous than the truth is what happens when it finally surfaces.
Look at Diddy, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at. He has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much. But what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on.
And this is where we hand it over to you. What began as a search for dirt on Diddy and a desperate attempt to untangle the mystery of Shakur's disappearance has spiraled into a story so wild even the boldest screenwriter wouldn't dare pitch it. These tunnels aren't just escape routes. They might be the skeleton key to Hollywood's entire closet of secrets. So we have to ask, what else lies buried beneath those sun-drenched mansions? If the truth ever surfaces, if those tapes ever see daylight, whose reputation crumbles first? And who will drag the entire industry down with them? Drop your wildest theories in the comments. We want to know who you think is next in the crosshairs. Thanks for riding with us through the shadows. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, in Hollywood, what you don't see is always more dangerous than what you do. Until next time, keep your ears to the ground and your eyes on the tunnels.